Back in 2014, a really groundbreaking paper introduced a totally new way for machines to learn how to create things. And it wasn't about following a strict set of rules. Not at all. It was about playing a game. So today, let's dive into the elegant and incredibly powerful idea behind what we call generative adversarial nets.
And really, this is the question at the heart of it all. Can a machine learn by playing a game of cops and robbers? For just a minute, forget about all the complicated math, and just think about a simple, high-stakes game of deception. This analogy, it's the key to unlocking one of the biggest breakthroughs in modern AI.
So, before this paper came along, what was the big holdup? Well, the huge challenge was teaching a machine not just to recognize stuff, but to generate something completely new that looked, well, real. And that, it turns out, was an incredibly difficult problem to solve.
You see, while AI was getting pretty good at classification tasks, telling a cat from a dog, it really struggled with creating a believable, brand new picture of a cat. The reason, as the paper puts it, was the difficulty of approximating intractable probabilistic computations. Basically, trying to write down all the mathematical rules for what makes a cat was just a total nightmare for the models they had back then. So instead of banging their heads against that mathematical wall, the researchers came up with this brilliant workaround. They thought, what if, instead of one AI, you had two? And what if you made them compete against each other in a game where only one can win?
And this is where that cops and robbers idea really comes to life. Just imagine, you have a counterfeiter trying to print fake money, and you have the police trying to spot it. The counterfeiter's goal is to make fakes that are so good they pass as real. And the police? They want to get so good at spotting the fakes that absolutely none get through. This constant competition is the engine that drives the entire system.
All right, let's meet our first player, the generator. This is our counterfeiter. It starts with just random noise. Think of it like a completely blank canvas, and it tries to turn that noise into something that looks just like the real data it's trying to copy, whether that's a picture of a face or a handwritten number. Its one and only goal is to fool its opponent. And of course, here's our second player, the discriminator. This is our police force. Its job is pretty straightforward. Look at any given sample and decide if it's the real deal from the actual training data or if it's a fake cooked up by the generator. It's the detective, right? It's constantly learning the little giveaways of a forgery. So here's the magic trick. These two networks aren't trained one at a time. They learn together at the same time in this competitive process, whereas one gets better, it forces the other one to get better too. This whole adversarial loop is really the engine of the system. First, the generator makes a bunch of fakes. Then, the discriminator gets shown a mix of those fakes and some real examples, and it gets better at telling them apart. And then, and this is the really clever part, the generator gets feedback on how well it did fooling the discriminator, and it uses that information to make even better fakes the next time around. This cycle just repeats over and over and over, with both of them getting smarter and smarter. The paper itself calls this a minimax two-player game, which is a classic idea from game theory. You can think of it like this. The generator is always trying to minimize the chance it gets caught, while the discriminator is always trying to maximize its ability to catch fakes. It's a true zero-sum game. One success is the other's failure.
So, where does this game eventually end? I mean, what's the ultimate goal of this algorithmic duel? Well, it's a state the researchers call equilibrium.
Let's go back to our analogy one more time. Just think about it for a second. What happens when the counterfeiter gets so good that their fake money is absolutely, perfectly indistinguishable from the real thing? Well, the police are basically left with no choice but to guess. Their accuracy drops to 50%, a coin flip. This is the signal that the game has reached its theoretical end. The discriminator literally cannot tell the difference between what's real and what's fake anymore.
And that right there, that's the whole point. The game itself isn't the prize, it's the outcome. When the discriminator is completely fooled, it means the generator has gotten so good that it has actually learned the deep underlying patterns of the original data. It can now create brand new examples that are, for all practical purposes, completely authentic.
The experiments in the paper showed this working perfectly. The model was generating new, very convincing images of handwritten digits and human faces. And the crucial thing to remember is that these weren't just copies or slightly altered versions of the training data. No, these were completely new creations that had never existed before, showing a true, powerful generative ability.
So, why was this such a big deal? Why did it cause such a stir? Well, it's because this adversarial idea neatly sidestepped a whole bunch of really tough problems that had been holding back generative models for years.
This chart really lays it out.
The older methods, they often had to use these really slow, step-by-step techniques called Markov chains just to generate one sample. With GANs, creating a new sample is direct and fast. The training only uses backpropagation, which is the standard, battle-tested way networks learn, and that was a huge simplification. Plus, the design was so flexible, it just opened the floodgates for researchers to build much more powerful and creative models.
So, to put it simply, the computational advantages were just huge. GANs gave us a much more elegant, efficient, and powerful way to do generative modeling. They got rid of major roadblocks and made it possible to build models that could produce these incredibly sharp, detailed images, which was something other methods really struggled with.
And you know, the original paper was really just the beginning. The authors themselves laid out a whole roadmap for the future, suggesting things like conditional GANs, where you could, say, generate a specific image just from a text description. A lot of those ideas have now become entire fields of research on their own. And that last point about improving training stability, that turned out to be really important, because as people discovered, this adversarial dance can be tricky to get right.
It all leaves us with this one fascinating final thought. When you have two AIs competing like this, who's the real winner? It's not the generator and it's not the discriminator. It's us. Because we end up with this incredible new tool that's capable of creation, all thanks to a simple, competitive game that solved one of AI's most complex challenges.